Hey there, sleepyheads, and welcome back to our quiet corner of history, where we gently unfurl the tapestries of the past to help you drift into a peaceful night's rest. Tonight we're embarking on a journey into the stark, demanding world of a World War II soldier, not just through the grand narratives of battles and strategies, but through the granular, often uncomfortable realities of daily existence. It's a story of structure survival and the profound human spirit, all painted against the backdrop of Europe's harshest winter in decades. So dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together, stepping into the frozen boots of an American infantryman in January 1945. You find yourself caught in the unforgiving grip of January 1945, and the world around you is nothing but the relentless brutality of a European winter. It's a cold that seeps not just into your bones, but into your very soul. You feel it as a bone-deep ache, a gnawing numbness in your toes, your eyelashes stiff with frost. This isn't just cold, it's described with a grim authority that only those who've endured it can understand as the coldest winter in Europe in decades. And you as an American soldier are right in the thick of it, where mere survival isn't a given but a constant draining struggle. Every breath is a visible cloud, every movement a protest from your stiffening joints. The pervasive chill becomes a living entity, an invisible enemy that penetrates every layer of your clothing, every thought demanding your energy, just to keep hypothermia and frostbite at bay. You quickly learn that this isn't merely an inconvenience, it's a primary antagonist in a war that already has too many. The foundational reality of your existence, however, isn't just the cold, but the inescapable military hierarchy that defines your very being. From the instant you put on that uniform, you become a cog in a rigidly structured machine, a system designed for absolute authority and unquestioning obedience. Commands flow downward swift and clear from officers like Lieutenant Murphy to the enlisted men like yourself. There is no room for debate, no space for hesitation. An order, no matter how perilous it might seem, is followed instantly, embodying a cascading authority that is absolutely essential for the chaotic ballet of combat operations. You might question it in the quiet recesses of your mind, but your body moves without thought, a trained response to a system built on immediate execution. This isn't civilian life where you choose your path. Here, your destiny for now is fixed by your rank and the orders you receive. Your role, along with everyone else's, is distinctly defined. Officers are expected to lead not just in strategy, but from the very front, setting an example through direct action, often putting themselves in as much, if not more danger than the men they command. You as an enlisted man primarily execute these orders. It's a clear division of labour, a stark understanding of who risks what and why. The flow of information, the distribution of responsibility, the very rhythm of your day is dictated by this chain of command. It's a brutal efficiency, a necessary dehumanization to ensure the machine keeps moving forward even when individual parts are ground down. You are part of a larger mechanism where personal identity yields to functional necessity. Within this unforgiving environment, a peculiar and grim form of depersonalization quickly sets in, shaping your interactions and perceptions. The high casualty rates mean that new replacements, often barely out of high school, arrive and depart with a chilling regularity. You see their fresh, often terrified faces learn a first name, maybe a hometown. But the veteran soldiers, the ones who have seen too many come and go, barely bother learning names anymore. It's not a lack of empathy, but a stark functional necessity. You can't afford to get too attached to invest emotionally in someone who might be a casualty by sundown. It's a defense mechanism, a quiet, almost mechanical understanding that this system needs to continue, even if it means sacrificing the personal connection. You find yourself adopting this silent rule, nodding in acknowledgement, offering a mumbled greeting but keeping a careful distance. The emotional cost is heavy, a subtle dulling of your own humanity, but it's a price you pay to stay sane, to maintain your focus on the immediate task of survival. It's like being in a long, endless meeting where attendees keep changing. You only pay attention to the ones whose presence directly impacts your immediate task, and even then you don't delve deep. Yet even within this functional anonymity, individual actions can carve out an almost legendary status. You witness instances of exceptional courage, perhaps from a quiet, unassuming man like Audie Murphy. You see him do something utterly unbelievable, something that defies the odds and saves lives, like standing atop a burning tank, firing its .50 caliber machine gun at advancing enemy forces. In these moments, respect is not given. It's earned fiercely and rapidly. Such acts shatter the veil of depersonalization, earning a profound admiration that ripples through the company. This isn't just a soldier. This is a force, a legend in the making. Your perceived standing, your place within this rigid structure, can dramatically shift in an instant, proving that while birthright might define the old world in this new brutal one, valor often writes its own rules. You might not know the man's favourite colour, but you know his courage, and that is what truly matters. This recognition of individual valour sometimes combines with a unique form of leadership. Your Lieutenant Murphy, for example, somehow remembers each man's name. In a world where you're often just soldier, private, or hey you, hearing your name spoken by an officer is a deeply humanising act. It fosters a loyalty and trust that transcend mere rank. When he calls your name, looks you in the eye and gives an order, you feel seen, recognised as an individual rather than a faceless part of the machine. This personal connection, this simple act of remembering a name inspires soldiers to follow him anywhere. It's a crucial factor in unit cohesion and morale, a reminder that even in the most impersonal of systems, human bonds can still thrive, strengthening the very foundation of your fighting force. It's a quiet rebellion against the depersonalization, a small flame of humanity in the overwhelming dark. And then there's the unspoken code of comradeship, a powerful unwritten law that often supersedes any formal directive. It's a horizontal bond connecting you to the men on your left and right, stronger than almost anything else. The rule is simple, etched into your very being. You don't leave your buddies unless you absolutely can't continue. This isn't taught in training manuals. It's forged in shared foxholes under falling shells and through the grim arithmetic of survival. This code dictates your immediate actions, influencing whether you risk your own neck for a downed friend or push past fear to offer cover. It's a mutual, visceral understanding that your life and theirs depends on this unwavering loyalty. You learn quickly that this bond, built on shared suffering and unspoken promises, is often the most potent force on the battlefield, more immediate in its impact than any command from higher up. This unwritten pact is the true heart of your immediate social fabric. Beyond the personal bonds and the rigid hierarchy, you quickly come to understand that this entire grand, horrifying enterprise of war operates on a deeper, more fundamental level, the relentless drain of its economy, and the constant, desperate management of resources. You might not see the ledgers and the supply chain graphs, but you feel the direct impact of every bullet fired, every meal consumed, every life expended. Looking at the enemy across the frozen fields, you get a chilling glimpse into the macro-level economic toll of World War II. By early 1945, intelligence reports and more viscerally, the appearance of captured enemy soldiers paint a stark picture. The German forces are visibly running out of everything: men, materials, time. This isn't merely a strategic disadvantage. It's an unsustainable resource consumption that dictates the very pace and intensity of the entire conflict. You see it in their worn uniforms, their desperate tactics, the increasing youth of their conscripts. It's a powerful, sobering reminder that even the most formidable war machine has its limits, and that economic realities can cripple an army as effectively as any offensive. You too are part of this grand equation of resource, and you feel the constant underlying hum of consumption. For you on the front lines, this abstract economic drain manifests in the most tangible ways. Supplies are not just commodities, they are the very lifeline of combat deemed worth more than gold. Imagine the simple joy, the profound relief that washes over you when American trucks and jeeps, those tireless workhorses of the army, rumble into your position. They bring not just reinforcements, fresh green faces quickly integrated into the anonymous flow, but also vital resupplies. It's a constant never-ending stream of essentials, fresh socks that can stave off the dreaded trench-foot mail from home, offering a fleeting connection to the world you left behind and, most critically, ammunition. Without these, the war machine grinds to a halt. You realise that military logistics, the unseen dance of moving goods from factories to foxholes, is as crucial as any battlefield strategy in sustaining both soldier morale and combat effectiveness. It ensures that you and your comrades can literally live to fight another day, that the endless churning maw of war can continue to be fed. And what feeds you personally? Mostly it's the K-rations. This isn't gourmet dining or even home cooking. These are small waxed cardboard boxes offering a pre-packaged, unappetizing selection of processed meat, rock-hard biscuits, a chocolate bar often frozen solid, and instant coffee. You consume them with a pragmatic, almost mechanical understanding of their role. They are essential fuel for your body, nothing more, nothing less. Enjoyment is a luxury you can't afford, secondary to endurance. This utilitarian view of meals is a grim testament to the resource-scarce combat environment, where every calorie counts and every morsel serves a singular purpose to keep you moving, alert and capable of fighting. You chew, you swallow, and you feel the dull churn of sustenance, a far cry from the comforting meals you might dream of back home. These mundane K-rations highlight the precious scarcity of what were once everyday luxuries. A real chocolate bar, the kind not meant to be a military-grade fuel block, is a miracle. It's a spoils of war, instantly devoured rather than saved. You don't hoard it for a rainy day. You consume it, savouring every fleeting moment of sweetness before it disappears. These small, unexpected treats illustrate how the wartime economy had transformed common goods into rare and intensely valued commodities. They provide brief, potent moments of psychological relief, a tiny, almost shocking connection to the world before the war, a reminder of tastes and comforts almost forgotten. You find yourself eyeing a chocolate bar with the kind of reverence usually reserved for religious artifacts, a testament to the profound deprivation that surrounds you, and a subtle clue about your next struggle, the ever-present threat of running out of the very means to fight. And then there's the most finite resource of all, ammunition. You live with the constant gnawing threat of running low on bullets, a precarious balance that dictates your very combat readiness. Every shot fired is a calculated risk, a subtraction from a dwindling total. You learn to conserve, to make every round count, because you understand that your next resupply might be hours or even days away. When you hear the cry, running low, it sends a jolt of ice through your veins, a stark reminder of the finite nature of resources in this life or death struggle. Immediate requests for resupply are not just protocol. They are frantic pleas critical for maintaining your ability to defend your position, to push forward. It's a constant low-level anxiety, this awareness that your means of self-preservation, your very voice in this brutal conversation, is measured out in clips and belts. You begin to appreciate the abstract concept of logistics not through charts, but through the heavy, reassuring weight of a full magazine or the terrifying lightness of an empty one. The act of reloading becomes a small, desperate prayer. Beyond the immediate combat, the relentless, methodical advance carries an unspoken economic and human cost that you witness daily. Victory, you realize with a grim resignation, is purchased with an endless flow of lives and material resources. The weekly arrival of new replacements to fill the gaps left by the dead and wounded is a constant, sobering reminder. You watch them arrive, often looking younger than you feel, their faces still round with civilian softness, their eyes wide with a fear they haven't yet learned to mask. These new bodies are the hidden cost, the perpetual payment for every inch of ground gained. They are in a chilling sense a resource themselves, replenished as surely as the ammunition and K-rations. This incessant cycle, this quiet, sombre ritual of new faces replacing lost ones underscores a brutal truth. The war machine to grind on demands a continuous, heartbreaking expenditure of human potential, a constant refilling of the ranks with fresh young men destined to become part of the same grim accounting. You see the haunted eyes of your veteran comrades, and you understand the quiet horror of this endless churning process. It's a strange, almost macabre form of accounting where lives are tallied alongside material. You might think of it as the grand chessboard of nations, but down here in the mud and snow, it's a much more intimate, brutal game. Every casualty is a ripple, not just in your small company, but up the chain, prompting another requisition, another transport of fresh, often unprepared bodies. You hear the hushed conversations among the sergeants about troop strengths, about the expected attrition rates, and you realise you're not just fighting an enemy, you're also fighting against a statistical probability, a number game you can only hope to beat. The weight of this silent, continuous human sacrifice presses down on you, a pervasive underlying hum beneath the roar of artillery. It's the kind of grim cost-benefit analysis you never signed up for, but now you're living it, breathing it, and trying desperately not to become another statistic in its relentless ledger. The war doesn't just consume it, devours always hungry for more. This ceaseless consumption forms a brutal counterpoint to the next equally relentless antagonist, nature itself. And if the human and economic costs weren't enough, you also contend with nature's relentless fury, a universal threat that cares nothing for your allegiances or your mission. January 1945 wasn't just cold, it was the coldest winter in Europe in decades, a phrase that resonates with a chilling accuracy every single day. This isn't the kind of cold you experience in a cosy heated home where a warm drink and a thick blanket offer solace. This is a pervasive, omnipresent chill that wraps around you, seeping into your very core. You feel it in your bones, a deep, incessant ache that never truly subsides. Your toes become numb, resistant to feeling even when you try to wiggle them inside your stiff frozen boots. Your eyelashes, too, feel the brunt stiffening with frost, making even the simple act of blinking an effort, a small painful reminder of the environment's unforgiving grip. Survival in these conditions becomes a constant draining struggle. Every calorie you consume, every ounce of energy you expend is partially dedicated to simply fighting off the pervasive cold. Hypothermia isn't a distant threat. It's a constant companion lurking just beyond the edge of your meagre warmth. Frostbite is a very real, very present danger threatening to claim your fingers, your toes, or worse. You spend what feels like an inordinate amount of time checking your extremities, rubbing circulation into your stiff fingers, flexing your numb feet. The cold penetrates every layer of your clothing, mocking the thick woolen canvas. It even seems to penetrate your thoughts, making it harder to concentrate, dulling your reactions. Every decision, every movement is weighed against the energy cost of maintaining your body temperature. It's an exhaustion that goes beyond physical exertion, a weariness of the soul as much as the flesh, a constant battle against an invisible, omnipresent enemy that never sleeps. You find yourself doing small, almost ritualistic things to combat this constant threat. You hunch your shoulders, trying to minimize exposed skin. You pull your scarf tighter around your face, trying to capture the meagre warmth of your breath. You learn to appreciate the brief, fleeting warmth of a cupped hand over a freezing canteen, or the slight relief of a shared blanket, even if it's stiff with ice. There's a particular kind of misery that comes with realizing your own body heat is rapidly dissipating into the vast, indifferent cold. It's a battle you wage silently, internally, with every fibre of your being. You'd probably laugh if you weren't so cold at the thought of those romanticised notions of war where the elements are a mere backdrop. Here the elements are an active participant, an enemy as formidable and relentless as any German division. You learn to respect the cold, to fear it, and to fight it with every ounce of your dwindling strength. This relentless environmental assault forces a profound recalibration of your priorities. What once seemed important, comfort, cleanliness, even sleep now takes a distant second place to simply staying alive and functional. You begin to develop a deep, almost instinctual connection to the subtle shifts in temperature, the biting edge of the wind, the way the snow feels underfoot. You're no longer just a soldier. You're a creature battling the elements, a fragile spark of life in an immense frozen landscape. This particular brand of cold is not just weather. It's a character in your story, a constant malevolent presence that shapes every aspect of your daily reality. You find yourself bargaining with it, silently pleading for a momentary reprieve, a brief lessening of its unrelenting grip, knowing full well that your pleas will go unanswered, as the very ground beneath your feet solidifies into another formidable obstacle. Adding to the torment of the cold, the very ground beneath your feet becomes a formidable obstacle, an accomplice to nature's relentless assault. The earth is frozen solid, it might as well be concrete. This isn't just an inconvenience. It renders the essential task of digging proper foxholes, your only real protection from enemy fire and the elements, nearly impossible. You chip away at the unyielding ground with your entrenching tool, the metal ringing against the rock-hard earth, creating more sparks than progress. It's a frustrating, energy-sapping endeavour. Instead of deep, protective trenches, you're forced to scrape out shallow depressions barely sinking below ground level. These inadequate scrapes offer minimal shelter, leaving you dangerously exposed to both the biting wind and the lethal spray of enemy fire. You lie there huddled, feeling the cold radiating up from the frozen earth, knowing that a direct hit from a mortar or an artillery shell would find you with little to no resistance. It's a cruel irony, the very ground that should offer you sanctuary instead conspires with the weather to leave you vulnerable. Then there's the snow, a presence that is beautiful in its pristine blanket, yet a complex and double-edged sword in combat. A light dusting can provide a slight insulating layer in your meagre foxhole, offering a fleeting, almost imperceptible comfort. You might even find a moment of peace watching the flakes fall, a brief silent interlude in the chaos. But heavy wet snow, the kind that quickly accumulates, presents a different challenge entirely. It drastically reduces visibility, turning the familiar landscape into a shifting, indistinct canvas where every shadow could conceal danger. This low visibility, while sometimes offering you cover, also offers perfect concealment for stealthy enemy attacks. They become ghosts in the white landscape, able to approach unseen, unheard. Every step through deep drifts becomes an exhausting, strength-sapping ordeal. Your boots plunge into the powder filling with snow that quickly melts, then refreezes, adding to the constant battle against trench foot. Lifting your leg from the snow feels like pulling it from wet concrete, each movement demanding immense effort. You feel your muscles burn, your breath come in ragged gasps as you simply try to advance or retreat. What might look picturesque in a painting is a grueling, unforgiving environment on the ground. The pristine white, which seems so pure and innocent, hides mines, booby traps, and the silent, deadly approach of an enemy patrol. You learn to hate the snow even as you depend on its fleeting insulation, recognizing it as yet another unpredictable, often treacherous variable in your grim equation of survival. This constant push and pull with the elements adds a layer of psychological weariness to the physical. You're always adapting, always adjusting, always fighting. The snow isn't just frozen water. It's a strategic force, a tactical challenge, and a relentless drain on your energy reserves. You calculate its impact on visibility for patrols, its depth for advances, its potential for muffling sounds of the enemy. It's a cruel game where nature itself seems to conspire against you, offering small comforts with one hand while dealing potentially fatal blows with the other. The weight of this endless environmental negotiation becomes part of the burden you carry heavy and silent alongside your rifle and pack. Indeed, nature's role as an active antagonist extends far beyond the ground and snow. Nature in this brutal winter isn't just a backdrop, it's an active antagonist relentlessly attacking your body and equipment. You experience this assault in countless small, irritating yet potentially deadly ways. Your canteen, your most precious source of hydration, has a habit of freezing solid, transforming life-giving water into an unusable block of ice. You learn to keep it close to your body or wrap it in insulating layers, but often to no avail. Then there's your breath visible in the frigid air, forming ice crystals on your scarf, your collar, and the inside of your helmet. You brush them away, but they return a constant crystalline reminder of the extreme cold. Even the simple involuntary act of blinking becomes painful, as the moisture on your eyelashes freezes, making your eyes feel scratchy and raw. It's a constant physical assault, an unyielding fury that never lets up, reminding you that you are a fragile biological entity in a deeply hostile world. The treacherous winter landscape itself becomes a source of profound paranoia. The pine forests, beautiful in a stark, deadly way, are heavy with snow, their branches bowed low. But this beauty is deceptive. Every snow-covered tree, every deep drift constantly conceals danger. You move through these silent white woods, your senses on high alert, your eyes playing tricks on you. Every shifting shadow, every oddly shaped mound of snow transforms into a potential enemy soldier. Your mind, already strained by fatigue and fear, conjures images of camouflaged German patrols, their white uniforms blending seamlessly into the environment. The rustle of frozen leaves underfoot, the sudden snap of a branch under the weight of snow, becomes a perceived threat, sending adrenaline surging through your veins. You freeze, listening intently, your heart pounding, only to realize it was just the wind or a small animal. This constant heightened state of alert is exhausting, turning the very landscape into a psychological battleground, where your own mind conspires with nature to keep you in a perpetual state of dread. This pervasive sense of danger makes every moment outdoors a test of your mental and physical endurance. You can't relax, not even for a second, because the environment itself feels like it's waiting for you to drop your guard. The silence of the snowy forest, usually associated with peace, becomes ominous, broken only by the crunch of your own boots or the distant muffled sound of artillery. You scrutinize every detail, searching for signs of enemy movement, a disturbed patch of snow, a faint footprint, anything that might betray their presence. The beauty of the winter wonderland is entirely lost on you. All you see are potential ambush points, lines of fire, and places where death could be lurking. It's a landscape that is both stunning and utterly terrifying, a paradoxical testament to nature's indifference to human conflict. You long for the warmth, the clarity and the predictability of a different season, knowing that for now this frozen world is your cage and every moment within it is a test of your resolve. The sheer scale of this environmental pressure compounds all the other stresses of combat. It's not just a battle against the enemy. It's a battle against the very air you breathe, the ground you walk on, the landscape you inhabit. You become acutely aware of your own smallness, your vulnerability in the face of such overwhelming natural forces. This understanding is humbling even as it fuels a desperate primal need to survive against all odds. Indeed, as if nature's direct assaults weren't enough, the very air you breathe carries another more profound and pervasive threat. Overlaying all these physical and environmental challenges is the pervasive systemic threat of death itself. It's not an abstract concept here, it's a sensory reality that permeates your every moment. You become sickeningly familiar with the vaguely sweet and horrible smell of death in the air. It's a scent that clings to everything, to the ruined buildings, to the churned up earth, and sometimes you fear to your own uniform. It's a sadly familiar olfactory reminder of the constant systemic threat of fatal violence that overshadows every single moment of your existence. This isn't just the smell of decay, it's the smell of lives cut short, of battles fought and lost, of the war's relentless hunger. It's a smell that once encountered you will never forget, a grim signature of the battlefield that becomes part of your internal landscape, a constant low-level dread. Amidst these systemic hardships, where formal large-scale relief efforts for environmental miseries are often non-existent or arrive too late, soldiers like you are forced into extreme self-sufficiency. There are no heated tents for every man, no regular hot meals, no endless supply of dry clothing. You quickly learn that relying on the system for every comfort is a fool's errand. Instead, individual coping mechanisms become critical for survival. You meticulously check your feet, rubbing them raw with a clean sock if you're lucky enough to have one, trying to prevent trench foot. You hoard any spare blanket or piece of canvas you find, using it to try and insulate your meagre sleeping space. Informal assistance among comrades is vital, sharing a dry cigarette, huddling together for warmth under a shared stiff blanket, taking turns on watch to allow another a few precious moments of broken sleep. This reliance on informal aid and self-sufficiency underscores the stark reality of the front line. You are in essence a small, self-contained unit of survival, drawing strength and resourcefulness from within yourself and from the immediate bonds of your buddies. There's no elaborate relief convoy delivering individual comfort items specifically to combat the cold. You adapt with what you have, often scavenging, always improvising. This isn't just about resourcefulness. It's about a profound sense of camaraderie, where the small acts of kindness and mutual support make all the difference between enduring and succumbing. You become keenly aware that in this brutal world your survival often hinges not on grand military strategy, but on the small, desperate and often unglamorous acts of personal resilience and shared human warmth. It's a raw, unvarnished portrait of humanity under immense pressure, stripped bare of all but the most essential instincts. The very absence of formal large-scale systems for managing your personal discomfort forces you to innovate, to become a master of the makeshift. You might fashion a windbreak out of salvaged wood, or learn to sleep in a position that maximizes heat retention. You develop a sixth sense for spotting a dry spot, a slightly sheltered hollow. These aren't skills taught in basic training. They are learned on the fly, honed by desperation, and the constant biting reminders of your vulnerability to the elements. The cold, the hunger, the constant threat, they become your relentless teachers, forcing you to evolve into a creature of pure pragmatic survival. And in this crucible, you discover depths of resilience you never knew you possessed, a quiet strength born of sheer necessity. As these foundational, pervasive realities form the backdrop of your existence, your daily life is defined by a host of more immediate personal struggles. Beyond these foundational and pervasive realities, the crushing weight of military hierarchy, the relentless economic drain of war, and nature's indifferent, brutal fury, you now find yourself confronting the very essence of your daily existence. It's a shift from the grand, overarching forces that shape the conflict to the tangible, sensory-rich, and often deeply uncomfortable experiences of personal survival, the gritty, immediate realities that define your every waking and often sleepless moment. You move from understanding the why of the war to living the how of simply making it through another day. This segment of your journey delves into the minute particulars of life on the edge. You'll explore the shelters you carve out of the earth, or find amidst the ruins the meagre sustenance that fuels your body, and the desperate measures you take to maintain a semblance of hygiene in a world that seems to conspire against cleanliness. This is where the abstract concept of war becomes deeply personal, pressing down on your individual senses, your body, your very will to endure. You're not just a soldier in a war, you're a human being, grappling daily with cold hunger dirt and the omnipresent threat of death. You'll find that these seemingly mundane details, a frozen blanket, a mouthful of muddy coffee, The insistent ache of unwashed feet are often more vivid, more immediate than the roar of distant artillery. Consider for a moment the profound contrast between the world you inhabit now and the comforts of modern life. You've grown accustomed to the soft mattress, the climate-controlled rooms, the easy access to clean water and abundant food. Here, those are distant, almost fantastical luxuries. Every aspect of your daily routine is stripped bare, reduced to its most primal form. Your shelter is improvised, your food, unappetizing, your personal care rudimentary. This isn't a story of grand heroism, though heroism is found in abundance. It's a story of grinding endurance, of finding small pockets of resilience amidst overwhelming hardship. You learn to redefine comfort, to find solace in the absence of pain, to appreciate the simple fact of being alive. This transition marks a crucial shift in your immersive experience. You're no longer observing the broad strokes of a historical painting. You're now stepping directly into the frame, feeling the grit under your fingernails, smelling the damp earth, hearing the wind whip past your ears. Every detail, no matter how small, contributes to the overarching narrative of individual survival against immense odds. It's a focus on the immediate, the visceral, the things that truly define daily life, when life itself is a constant battle. You begin to understand that history isn't just made by emperors and generals, but by the countless small, defiant acts of ordinary individuals enduring extraordinary circumstances. And as you settle into this deeper, more intimate exploration, you prepare to confront the very core of what it meant to live day by arduous day on the front lines of a world at war, beginning with the unyielding reality of your sleeping conditions. Your personal reality begins perhaps most fundamentally with your living conditions and shelter, or rather the stark absence of comfortable ones. Rest means lying directly on dirt, so frozen it might as well be concrete. Imagine that, not a bed, not even a cot, but the unyielding, frigid earth itself. There is no insulation, to speak of no buffer between your body and the permafrost beneath. The cold radiates upwards, seeping into every muscle, every joint, making them ache with a persistent dull throb. You shift, trying to find a position that offers even a modicum of relief, but the ground is unforgiving, indifferent to your discomfort. A single wool blanket, often stiff with ice, and dusted with fresh snow that has drifted in, provides only minimal crackling warmth. It feels less like a comforting embrace, and more like a heavy cold shroud. You pull it tighter, shivering, knowing it's the best you're going to get and that it's barely doing the job. Due to this unyielding frozen earth, the essential task of digging proper foxholes, the most basic form of protection, is nearly impossible. You can only manage to scrape out shallow depressions barely sinking below ground level. These improvised and utterly inadequate shelters leave you dangerously exposed. You're not truly in the earth, you're merely on it, a slight indentation that offers little protection from the elements, and even less from incoming enemy fire. The wind whips through carrying snow and biting cold, chilling you to the bone. You listen to the distant sounds of battle, the sudden crack of a rifle, the dull thump of a mortar, and you realise how flimsy your sanctuary truly is. It's a constant, terrifying vulnerability, a reminder that you're always just one step away from the ultimate exposure. You try to make the most of it, perhaps lining your scrape with pine needles or bits of salvaged cloth, anything to create a meagre buffer against the cold. But the sensation of the frozen ground against your back, your hips, your shoulders is relentless. It's a cold that penetrates your fatigue, that vibrates through your every nerve, making true relaxation an impossibility. You close your eyes, but the cold is a constant presence, a phantom weight that presses down on you. This isn't just about physical discomfort, it's about the psychological toll of never feeling truly safe, truly sheltered. Your shelter, ironically, often feels like a thinly disguised trap. A place where you wait for the inevitable, hoping your shallow scrape will offer just enough protection to spare you. You find yourself wondering how long the body can endure such conditions, such constant grinding exposure before it simply gives up. The grim reality of these conditions makes you appreciate with a strange twist of dark humour the sheer ingenuity of your ancestors who built proper homes, or perhaps the simple luxury of a dry cave. You're living proof that human beings can adapt to almost anything, but that adaptation comes at a profound cost to comfort, to peace of mind, and to the very essence of what a home should be. Here home is a concept that only exists in your memories, a stark contrast to the miserable reality of your frozen shallow hole in the ground. Yet even in this desolation a different kind of warmth, however precarious, can be found. In the brutal sub-zero temperatures where your meagre scrape in the frozen earth offers little more than symbolic shelter, another strategy emerges born of desperation and the shared struggle, the precarious comfort of shared body heat. You find yourself huddling shoulder to shoulder with a comrade under a single, often stiff wool blanket. This isn't a choice. It's a vital, if profoundly insufficient strategy to conserve body heat. The forced intimacy, the smell of unwashed uniforms and pine needles, the feel of another man's body pressed against yours, it's a stark departure from any notion of personal space you once held. But here those social conventions melt away faster than snow on a hot stove. All that matters is the tiny fleeting pocket of warmth you can collectively generate, a fragile bubble against the pervasive indifferent cold that surrounds you. You feel the slight warmth radiating from your comrade, a small miracle in the face of such overwhelming frigidity. It's just enough to momentarily fool your body, to slow the bone-deep chill that threatens to numb you into submission. The rough wool of the blanket, which felt like an extension of the ice itself, now carries a faint human warmth. You hear the steady, shallow breaths of the man next to you, a comforting rhythm that reminds you you're not entirely alone in this desolate landscape. This shared warmth isn't luxurious. It's more like clinging to a tiny sputtering candle in a vast dark cavern. It's a collective act of defiance against hypothermia, a silent agreement to pool your meagre resources, which in this case are your own failing body temperatures. You might not speak, but the very act of huddling together speaks volumes about the shared predicament, the unspoken pact of survival. This isn't the kind of warmth that lulls you into deep sleep. Far from it. Instead, it's a constant negotiation, a subtle shifting as one of you feels the chill creeping in, prompting a closer press of bodies. It's a stark reminder that even this collective effort is merely a delaying tactic, a temporary reprieve. The cold is always there, waiting at the edges of your shared blanket, ready to reclaim its territory the moment you relax your guard. You understand that this is a compromise, a desperate measure that highlights the profound deprivation of your circumstances. In another life, such proximity might be a sign of great affection. Here it's a grim necessity, a primal instinct to stay alive. You wouldn't volunteer for such an arrangement back home, of course. Imagine explaining to your family that your best chance of warmth involved spooning your buddy under a freezing blanket. They'd look at you like you'd grown a second head, and you wouldn't blame them. But here in the icy grip of winter, this is your reality. This shared space, this forced closeness, is a testament to the fact that even in the most inhuman conditions, human connection in its most basic physical form can be a vital component of survival. It's not just about the calories you burn to stay warm. It's about the subtle psychological comfort of not facing the cold entirely alone. It's a shared vulnerability that paradoxically builds a kind of strength, a collective resolve against the overwhelming odds. Yet despite this small shared victory against the elements, true rest remains elusive, often yielding only brief fragmented snatches of unconsciousness. True rest, as you've come to understand it in this frozen theatre of war, is a luxury rarely afforded and almost never fully achieved. Sleep is a constant battle, a nightly skirmish fought against the elements, your own anxieties and the demands of vigilance. It is consistently fitful and unsatisfying, a series of brief, fragmented interludes rather than a deep restorative plunge into unconsciousness. You might close your eyes, your body screaming for repose, but your mind remains on high alert, a sentry that refuses to fully stand down. Every distant sound, every rustle of the wind jolts you back to a shallow awareness. You're always half awake, your senses finely tuned to any potential threat, a testament to the brutal, relentless demands of the front line. It's a cruel paradox. Your body is utterly exhausted, yet your mind is too terrified to fully surrender. The reasons for this broken sleep are manifold, each a torment in its own right. First, there's the persistent chill that wraps around you like a clammy shroud. Even when huddled with a comrade, that bone-deep cold never truly leaves you. You shiver involuntarily, your muscles tensing against the cold, making it impossible to relax fully. You might try to curl into a tighter ball, pulling the inadequate blanket closer, but the cold finds its way in a relentless infiltration that keeps you on the edge of discomfort. Then there's the need for vigilance, the constant low-level hum of responsibility that demands a part of your brain remain active, scanning for danger. Even when it's not your turn on watch, the possibility of an enemy patrol, an artillery barrage, or a sudden attack looms large, a silent alarm that prevents deep slumber. You've learned that a moment of true unguarded sleep could be your last, and that knowledge is a potent stimulant. And when sleep does manage to claim you, however briefly, it's rarely a peaceful escape. Instead, your dreams become a jumbled, vivid tapestry that blends the comforting images of home with the jarring, visceral horrors of combat. You might find yourself back in your mother's kitchen, the warm scent of baking bread filling the air, only for the scene to abruptly shift to the metallic tang of blood and the concussion of an exploding shell. Your sweetheart's smile might turn into the rictus of a fallen comrade. The familiar safe embrace of a loved one morphs into the frantic grip of a man pulling you into a foxhole. These are not restful dreams. They are psychological battlegrounds, a subconscious processing of trauma that offers no true respite. You wake with a start, your heart pounding, uncertain for a fleeting moment, which reality is real only for the cold hard facts of the foxhole to assert themselves once more. It's like watching a terrifying movie, where the happy scenes are constantly interrupted by jump scares. You learn quickly that these dreams are a form of torture, a constant reminder of what you've lost and what you're still fighting against. They drain you of what little mental energy you have, leaving you feeling more exhausted upon waking than when you finally manage to drift off. You might try to push the memories away to focus only on the immediate tangible needs of the moment, but the subconscious has a way of asserting itself, dredging up the very things you try so desperately to suppress. This fragmented sleep becomes part of the daily grind, another obstacle to overcome, another drain on your resilience. You crave a deep, dreamless sleep, the kind that used to come so easily, but that feels like a distant memory from a lifetime ago. Here even your unconscious mind is at war, struggling against the pervasive sensory overload of the foxhole. As if the fitful sleep and pervasive cold weren't enough, your existence in the foxhole is defined by a constant sensory overload, a relentless assault on your every sense that creates an inescapable sense of pervasive grime and an assaulting soundscape. Forget any romanticized notions of quiet contemplation in the wilderness. Your world is a symphony of discomfort. The most immediate and intimate sensation is the constant presence of gritty dirt. It infiltrates everything. No matter how much you try to brush it off, it clings to your clothing, working its way into the fibers, creating a permanent scratchy layer against your skin. You feel it in your hair, a fine powder that makes it feel coarse and unclean. It's in your mouth too, a persistent earthy taste that blends with the blandness of K-rations and the iodine tang of your water. You breathe it in, a subtle but constant reminder of your intimate connection to the earth, an earth that is far from hospitable. Mixed with the dirt are sharp pine needles, a relentless irritant. They work their way into your socks, prickling your feet even through the thick wool. They lodge in the folds of your clothing, poking and prodding, making it impossible to find true comfort. You constantly find yourself picking them out of your blanket, your pack, even from your hair, a futile exercise in an environment where they are as ubiquitous as the air you breathe. They become a subtle, constant form of torture, 1,000 tiny reminders of the harsh reality of your surroundings. You try to shake them out, to brush them away, but they always return a persistent natural debris that has become an unwelcome part of your personal ecosystem. It's like living inside a giant, slightly damp, very uncomfortable pincushion. Then there's the soundscape, a cacophony that hammers at your ears even in moments of relative calm. The persistent ringing in your ears from artillery fire is a constant companion, a phantom echo of explosions that have already passed. It's a high-pitched whine or a dull roar, a permanent artifact of the violence you've endured. You try to ignore it, to tune it out, but it's always there, a testament to the concussive forces that have rattled your brain. This isn't just a physical sensation. It's a psychological one, a constant reminder of the ever-present threat of more shelling, more blasts. It permeates your thoughts, making it difficult to find silence, even when the battlefield is momentarily quiet. You might wish for total silence, but your ears now provide their own internal soundtrack of war. This combination of grit-sharp needles and persistent ringing creates an almost unbearable sensory assault. Your body aches, your skin feels perpetually dirty and irritated, and your ears hum with the echoes of violence. There's no escaping it. You can't wash away the dirt, you can't pick out every needle, and you certainly can't turn off the ringing in your head. This pervasive grime, this assaulting soundscape becomes your new normal. It's the backdrop to every conversation, every meal, every attempt at sleep. You learn to live with it, to exist within it, but it grinds you down slowly but surely, chipping away at your resilience. It's the kind of discomfort that isn't glamorous, that doesn't make for heroic tales, but it's the very fabric of your daily existence. A constant reminder of how far you are from any semblance of civilization or comfort. You start to understand why some men just seem to shut down, retreating within themselves because the outside world is simply too much to bear. Yet even in this constant assault, a desperate hope for sanctuary sometimes emerges. Amidst the relentless discomfort of your shallow foxhole and the constant sensory assault, there comes a desperate, almost primal need for shelter, for something more substantial than a mere scrape in the frozen earth. This longing, a deep, persistent ache for even a moment of genuine reprieve, drives you and your comrades forward through the shattered landscapes of liberated yet still contested villages. And sometimes, just sometimes, this desperate search yields a fleeting precious discovery, partially intact cellars beneath damaged houses. You learn to eye every ruin, every skeletal remains of a building with a specific kind of hunger, assessing its potential for an underground refuge. It's like searching for a hidden treasure, only your treasure is a damp, dark hole that promises a temporary escape from the biting wind and snow. These underground spaces, often choked with debris and smelling of damp earth and stale air, are far from luxurious. Yet they offer a temporary relative warmth that feels like a miracle compared to the exposed conditions outside. Imagine the almost overwhelming relief of stepping down into a cellar, feeling the immediate drop in the wind's chill, the slight, almost imperceptible rise in temperature. It's not warm in the conventional sense, but it's warmer. The thick stone or packed earth walls provide insulation, holding onto a vestige of heat that the surface world has long forgotten. This protection from the wind and snow is perhaps the greatest blessing. No longer are you directly assailed by the biting gusts that threaten to strip away your last reserves of body heat. The snow might pile up outside, but down here you are shielded if only for a few precious hours. In these rare moments of sanctuary, a soldier can relax slightly. This isn't the deep restorative relaxation of home, of course, but a subtle letting go of the constant tension that defines your existence in the open. You can unhunch your shoulders, perhaps even stretch your legs without worrying about the wind whipping snow into your face. The continuous low-level vigilance doesn't entirely disappear, but it recedes a few notches. You might share a whispered conversation, light a precious cigarette, or simply stare blankly at the damp stone walls, allowing your mind a brief respite from the active battle for survival. These are the small, fleeting victories in a war defined by immense struggle, providing just enough mental and physical recharge to face the next inevitable assault. You might even find yourself engaging in a bit of dark humour, remarking that this cellar, despite its grime and smell, is practically a 5-star hotel compared to your foxhole, assuming you define stars by the number of rats you share your accommodation with. The contrast is stark, almost absurd. The dirt floor is still hard, but at least it's not frozen solid. The air is still stale, but it's not actively trying to freeze your lungs. These fleeting comforts, though objectively miserable, become profoundly significant in your deprived reality. They underscore just how much your definition of comfort has been warped by the war, a testament to the sheer resilience of the human spirit to find relief in the most unlikely and unglamorous of places. You quickly learn to seize these moments to extract every ounce of temporary peace they offer, knowing they are rare and often short-lived. And once a semblance of shelter is secured, your thoughts, perhaps inevitably, turn to the critical subject of sustenance. Having found, however briefly, a precarious shelter, your thoughts inevitably turn to the next fundamental aspect of daily survival: diet and sustenance. In this environment, food is rarely a source of pleasure. It is merely a pragmatic necessity. Your daily sustenance is almost entirely defined by the contents of a small waxed cardboard K-ration box. Picture a compact package containing processed meat biscuits as hard as a Rocker chocolate bar that's often frozen solid in instant coffee. This isn't just bland, it's profoundly unappealing. You eat it not because you want to, but because you must. It provides the essential calories your body desperately needs to fight the cold and maintain energy for combat, but offers little to no comfort or pleasure. It's like eating engineered fuel pellets rather than a meal, a grim and utilitarian exercise in caloric intake. The processed meat, often a type of spam or some other indistinguishable concoction, is typically eaten cold straight from its small can. The biscuits are designed for durability, not taste, and often require a desperate swig of iodine-tinged water to soften them enough to swallow. The chocolate bar, when not frozen into an inedible block, is a small concession to sweetness, but it's more for energy than indulgence. And the instant coffee, a fine powder you mix with whatever cold or barely warm water you can procure, completes the ensemble. This is the monotony of K-rations, the same few items day after day, week after week. Your taste buds, once accustomed to varied flavours and textures, quickly dull into a state of resigned acceptance. You stop expecting anything more, knowing that this uninspiring fare is all that stands between you and gnawing hunger. This constant, unvaried diet is a testament to the industrial efficiency of wartime logistics, designed to deliver maximum calories in the smallest, most durable package regardless of palatability. You eat with a kind of grim determination, chewing slowly, allowing the meagre nutrients to absorb. There's no savouring, no culinary delight. Each meal is a functional, refuelling and necessary pause in the constant battle against exhaustion and hunger. You sometimes find yourself daydreaming about the meals you took for granted back home. A hot plate of scrambled eggs, a juicy steak, a slice of apple pie. These are distant, almost mythical memories, sharp in their contrast to the processed, uninspired contents of your wax-coated box. The K-ration, in its bland and functional efficiency, becomes a symbol of the war's ability to strip away all but the most basic necessities of life. You might occasionally try to spice things up, perhaps by crumbling a biscuit into your coffee to create a makeshift gruel, or attempting to toast the processed meat over a tiny, carefully concealed flame, if the situation allows. But these small acts of culinary rebellion are rare and usually only highlight the profound limitations of your available ingredients. Mostly you just eat quickly and silently, conscious that time spent on meals is time taken away from vigilance, from rest, or from the endless grinding march. The K-ration is not just food. It's a constant, tangible reminder of where you are and what you're enduring, reinforcing the stark reality that this is a world of survival, not comfort. And once this monotonous cycle of engineered sustenance is consumed, your thoughts might drift to the one element of your diet that, despite its poor quality, offers a crucial lifeline. In the grim tableau of K-rations, one element stands out almost revered despite its terrible quality. Coffee. More precisely, barely warm, muddy coffee. Though it tastes objectively awful, bitter, often gritty and thin, it is a prized commodity, a small dark beacon in your relentlessly cold world. You clutch the tin cup, the meagre warmth seeping into your frozen hands, a sensation that offers a fleeting moment of comfort in the sub-zero temperatures. This isn't the artisanal, perfectly brewed coffee you might remember from a diner back home. This is survival coffee, purely functional, devoid of charm. Yet you drink it with an almost desperate gratitude. Its meagre warmth provides a slight fleeting jolt that penetrates the chill, a small internal fire against the external ice. It's often the only truly warm thing you'll consume all day, a precious internal heat that offers a brief, illusory sense of being less cold. But beyond the physical warmth, the caffeine in that muddy brew is its true value, its essential contribution to your continued existence. It provides a fleeting jolt, a necessary kick to your system, critical for maintaining alertness and fighting the constant, insidious fatigue that threatens to pull you under. You drink it on an empty, churning stomach, the bitter liquid shocking your system awake. You might feel a slight tremor in your hands afterward, but that's a small price to pay for the clarity it offers, the momentary sharpening of your senses that allows you to remain vigilant. When you've had only a few hours of fitful sleep, constantly battling the cold, and the fear that cup of muddy coffee is often the only thing keeping you from succumbing to the overwhelming urge to simply close your eyes and drift away. It's a lifeline, a cheap, potent stimulant in a world where every advantage is seized. The ritual of preparing and consuming this coffee, however rudimentary, becomes a small anchor in your chaotic day. If you're lucky, someone might have a small, carefully concealed fire going, allowing you to heat a small amount of water to mix with the instant powder. The steam rising from your cup, however faint, feels like a small luxury, a reminder of warmth and domesticity in a world devoid of both. You watch the dark liquid swirl, the tiny granules dissolving, and you feel a profound sense of anticipation, not for taste, but for the effect. It's the pragmatic fuel for your body, yes, but it's also a psychological boost, a signal to your mind that it's time to push through time, to remain sharp, time to survive. You think about how easily you might have complained about a bad cup of coffee back home, a thought that now seems utterly absurd in its privileged naivety. Here, bad coffee is still coffee, and that makes it good enough. You even develop a strange affection for its terrible taste, a bitter companion that signifies endurance. That chemical tang, that slightly acrid aftertaste, becomes synonymous with pushing forward, with remaining functional. It's a grim testament to a resource-scarce combat environment, where enjoyment is secondary to endurance, where even your taste buds have been conscripted into the war effort. The coffee doesn't just wake you up. It reminds you of your mission, of your duties, of the stark realities of your situation. You sometimes wonder what you'd do without it, that barely warm, muddy elixir that acts as a vital, if unappetizing, bridge between exhaustion and the relentless demands of the battlefield. It's a small daily miracle, a potent dose of defiance against the overwhelming forces trying to bring you down. But even this pales in comparison to the power of a truly rare treat. Having settled into the monotony of K-rations and the grim functionality of muddy coffee, your palate has largely forgotten the concept of flavour or indeed pleasure. Your taste buds have been conscripted into the war effort, accustomed only to sustenance, not enjoyment. This makes the power of rare treats when they appear almost shockingly profound. Imagine the scene: you're meticulously clearing a damaged village, perhaps sifting through the skeletal remains of what was once a bustling street. Dust motes dance in the faint, weak light filtering through a broken window of a collapsed building. Your stomach grumbles its usual complaint, a hollow echo after another predictable K-ration. Then, tucked away on a dusty shelf in what might have been a forgotten pantry or a family bakery, you spotted a small, unassuming glass jar. The label is faded, perhaps in German or French, its contents murky, but the unmistakable shape of preserved cherries catches your eye. It feels like uncovering a lost relic from a forgotten civilization, a small, vibrant piece of the world before the war. You carefully wipe away the grime, your heart giving a surprising flutter, a reaction you haven't felt for anything remotely culinary in months. Back in the relative safety of your makeshift shelter, under the meagre glow of a shielded lantern, you carefully pry open the lid. The sweet, slightly alcoholic scent wafts out a profound shock to your system, accustomed only to the metallic tang of canned meat, the bitter bite of instant coffee, and the pervasive smell of cordite and damp earth. This unexpected aroma alone is a psychological balm, a powerful sensory memory of comfort and normalcy. It's like finding a secret message from your past self, telling you that pure joy still exists, even if only in a jar. You bring a single soft cherry to your lips. The taste, it is beyond description. A profound burst of sweetness, perfectly balanced by a tart tang, the texture yielding gently on your tongue. It is shockingly, unbelievably delicious. Not just good in the context of deprivation, but miraculous in its intensity. It's food that remembers how to be joyful, a concept your palate had long forgotten. Each mouthful is an explosion of flavour, a vivid contrast to the blandness that defines your daily diet. For a fleeting moment, the cold, the fear, the grime, they all recede. You're transported, if only for a few seconds, back to a world where such simple delights were commonplace. You almost feel guilty tasting something so intensely good in this place of suffering, but then the feeling passes, replaced by a quiet, fierce gratitude. You share it, of course, a silent ritual of offering and acceptance among your comrades. Each man's face, usually set in grim lines of fatigue and vigilance, softens for a moment. You see a brief, almost childlike wonder in their eyes as they savour their small portion. This tiny jar, these few preserved fruits, transform a moment of monotonous survival into a profound shared experience of sweetness and fleeting joy. It highlights with poignant clarity the extreme deprivation you constantly endure, yet offers a brief, potent emotional uplift. It's a taste of home, a flicker of normalcy, a reminder that the world once held flavours beyond blandness and the chemical tang of combat. This small act of shared indulgence serves as a powerful morale booster, a testament to the fact that even in the most brutal of circumstances, humanity can find solace in unexpected sweetness. Yet even as sweetness momentarily triumphs, the stark reality of your hydration, still tainted by an essential medicinal tang, soon reasserts itself. Now, turning your attention from the unexpected sweetness of preserved cherries, you confront the stark reality of hydration. Water, an absolutely vital resource, is often scarce, and almost universally it comes with a distinct and pervasive character, the strong, almost medicinal taste of iodine purification tablets. You learn to recognize it instantly, a chemical tang that permeates every sip, whether the water is drawn from a melted snowdrift, a questionable stream, or a refilled canteen. It's a taste that constantly reminds you of the unsanitary conditions of the battlefield, a grim and necessary evil. You might wrinkle your nose, perhaps even gag slightly at first, but you drink it anyway because the alternative, dysentery, cholera, or simply dehydration, is far, far worse. Imagine the simple, pure taste of water from a tap back home. Here that memory is a distant, almost luxurious fantasy. The iodine flavour is sharp, metallic, sometimes a little chalky, a constant chemical presence that overtakes any natural freshness the water might have possessed. It's a bitter counterpoint to the sweet memories of the cherries. You might try to hold your breath as you swallow, or quickly follow it with a hard biscuit, anything to diminish the lingering aftertaste. But it stays with you, a constant companion that underscores the profound difference between life in wartime and any semblance of peace. This isn't just about taste. It's about a constant nagging reminder of the invisible threats that surround you. The bacteria and pathogens lurking in every natural water source, waiting to incapacitate you. The necessity of these purification tablets also highlights the immense effort required to ensure even basic safe hydration. Every drop of water you consume has been chemically treated, a testament to the meticulous, though unpleasant efforts made to keep you functional. You watch the small, unassuming tablets fizz and dissolve, transforming potentially deadly liquid into merely unpalatable but safe fluid. It's a low-tech marvel, a simple yet critical piece of battlefield science. But the omnipresence of that chemical tang becomes a constant, almost subconscious irritant, a small price you pay for not succumbing to debilitating illness. You often wonder, with a wry internal chuckle, what a health inspector back home would say about your daily hydration routine. Probably a lot, and none of it good. Despite its unpleasantness, water, even iodine-tainted water, remains an incredibly precious commodity. In winter, finding liquid water is a challenge in itself, as streams freeze over and snow has to be painstakingly melted, often over tiny fuel-rationed fires. Your canteen, as you know, has a habit of freezing solid, so when you do get a chance to fill it, you guard it fiercely, knowing that every sip counts. This constant battle for hydration, coupled with the unappetizing taste, transforms what was once a simple, unconscious act into a deliberate, often unpleasant ritual of survival. It's a testament to the fact that in war, even the most fundamental human needs are complicated, stripped of their ease, and often imbued with a subtle layer of suffering. Yet this necessary evil is endured, for without it you cannot continue. And sometimes after enduring the iodine, a different kind of simple miracle arrives, a taste of sheer indulgence that contrasts sharply with your daily deprivation. After the constant chemical tang of iodine-purified water and the relentless blandness of K-rations, a different kind of miracle occasionally arrives, a small indulgence that momentarily shatters the utilitarian monotony of your diet, the real Hershey's chocolate bar. This isn't the frozen functional chocolate component of your K-ration. This is the genuine article often arriving during a much-anticipated resupply. Its arrival is met with near reverence, a hushed excitement that ripples through the ranks, more profound than the discovery of even critical ammunition. You hold it in your hand, its familiar wrapper, the slight give of the chocolate beneath your thumb, and it feels like holding a piece of a forgotten world. It's a powerful morale booster, a tangible link to the beef for, a taste of pre-war normalcy that for a fleeting moment makes you feel like a civilian again. You might tear open the wrapper with an almost ceremonial slowness, inhaling the rich, sweet scent that is utterly alien to your current olfactory environment. The first bite is an experience almost overwhelming in its intensity. The chocolate melts on your tongue, a smooth, sweet richness that explodes with flavour, a stark contrast to the rock-hard biscuits and processed meat. It's a pure, unadulterated pleasure, a sensory shock that reminds your body of forgotten joys. For a brief moment, the constant ache of the cold, the fear, the grime, they all recede into the background, replaced by the simple, profound delight of pure sugar and cocoa. It's not just food. It's a memory, a promise, a fleeting taste of everything you left behind and everything you hope to return to. You might close your eyes for a second, allowing yourself to fully immerse in that brief, sweet escape. There's rarely any question of saving these small luxuries. They're often consumed, immediately devoured rather than hoarded. The logic of the Frontline dictates that tomorrow is uncertain, so any joy found today must be seized without hesitation. You might tell yourself you'll save a piece for later, but the sheer craving, the psychological need for that sweetness is too powerful to resist. Plus, in this environment, anything you save is likely to get frozen, crushed, or simply lost. So you eat it, savouring each square, each bite, a precious counterpoint to the bland utilitarian K-rations that are your staple. It's a small defiant act against the deprivation, a reaffirmation of humanity's need for pleasure, however fleeting and scarce. This immediate consumption is a testament to the sheer psychological power of these treats, transforming common goods into rare and intensely valued commodities. The arrival of real Hershey's isn't just about the calories, it's about the psychological boost, the momentary return to innocence. It's a reminder that there's a world beyond the mud and the blood, a world of simple pleasures of childhood memories. You might remember the quiet afternoons at home, the sound of a baseball game on the radio, a chocolate bar in hand. This tangible link to your past provides not just comfort but a renewed sense of purpose, a small reason to keep pushing forward to survive and return to that world. It's a small piece of civilization delivered directly to your foxhole, a potent symbol that the struggle you're enduring has a meaningful end, a peaceful after. Yet as the last vestiges of the chocolate melt, the memory of its sweetness lingers, a subtle, profound contrast to the next inevitable reality. You must face the purely mechanical necessity of eating stripped of all such indulgence. After the fleeting, almost dreamlike indulgence of a real chocolate bar, your daily reality quickly snaps back into sharp focus, a stark contrast that makes the return to normalcy even more jarring. Here meals are rarely, if ever, savoured. The very concept of culinary enjoyment of leisurely dining has been thoroughly stripped away by the relentless demands of your situation. Instead, eating becomes a purely mechanical act driven by one urgent overriding necessity, the need for calories to fuel your body against the energy-draining cold. You don't sit down to a meal, you perform a task. It's a pragmatic, almost surgical approach to food, underscoring the relentless physical demands of survival in this brutal winter. Your body has become a furnace constantly burning fuel just to maintain a core temperature, and the K-rations are merely the coal you shovel in. Imagine the deliberate, unthinking motions. You might tear open the small wax-coated package, extract the processed meat, and shove it into your mouth with a little ceremony. The texture, the taste, these are secondary, almost irrelevant. Your jaw moves, your teeth chew, your throat swallows, all in a relentless rhythm. There's no conversation, no lingering glances at the food. Your eyes remain scanning, your ears listening, even as your hands perform the task of feeding yourself. It's a primal, almost animalistic act, focused entirely on the input of energy and the output of continued function. You feel the dull churn in your stomach as the unappetizing contents begin their work, converting into the precious warmth and power your body desperately needs to fight off the pervasive chill. It's like a fueling stop for a machine efficient and utterly devoid of charm. This utilitarian view of meals, this complete absence of pleasure, is a grim testament to the profound physical toll the environment exacts. Every degree your body temperature drops, every shiver that racks your frame, every step through knee-deep snow drains your energy reserves at an alarming rate. Without a constant influx of calories, your body would simply shut down, succumbing to the cold and exhaustion. So you eat not because you're hungry in the traditional sense, but because your body's internal alarm bells are screaming for fuel. It's a matter of basic physics of thermodynamics. a constant battle to maintain your internal furnace against the external crushing cold. This pragmatic approach to food isn't a choice, it's an imperative. You learn to silence your preferences, to ignore your palate, and to simply consume what is necessary when it is available. You might find yourself observing your comrades and you see the same silent mechanical process reflected in their actions. There's a shared understanding and unspoken agreement that mealtime is not a moment for communion, but for vital refortification. Heads are bowed, eyes are often cast downward, movements are economical. The focus is entirely internal on the body's demands. It's a quiet, almost somber ritual devoid of the social warmth that usually accompanies eating. This constant, unromanticized act of consumption is another subtle way the war strips away the niceties of civilian life, reducing human existence to its most basic functional components. You're no longer dining, you're simply maintaining a complex biological system under extreme duress. And once this mechanical fueling is complete, your thoughts and your actions quickly turn to another equally unglamorous yet absolutely critical aspect of survival, the battle for personal hygiene. Having mechanically fueled your body, your attention must now, however, reluctantly turn to the often ignored, deeply uncomfortable reality of hygiene and personal care. Or more accurately, the profound lack thereof. In this world, the idea of a refreshing shower or a clean change of clothes feels like a distant, almost mythical tale. You wear the same uniform for weeks on end, a continuous layer of olive drab that quickly absorbs the accumulated grime of combat and the pervasive dampness of the winter. This includes your wool socks, which, despite your best efforts, often remain damp for extended periods, clinging to your feet with a clammy persistence. It's a constant state of mild discomfort, a low-level irritation that never truly goes away. You might try to brush off the visible dirt, but the deeper filth, the ingrained grit, becomes a part of the fabric itself, an unwanted second skin. This prolonged wear of unwashed uniforms inevitably leads to a pervasive, inescapable smell. It's a complex, multi-layered scent that becomes your constant companion. First, there's the sweat, thick and stale, clinging to your skin and the wool. Then the damp earth, the mud, and the general grime of the foxhole mix in, adding an earthy, almost musty undertone. But there's also something more subtle, more insidious, a metallic tang that you quickly learn to associate with fear. It's the smell of adrenaline, of constant vigilance, of the raw primal emotion that permeates your every moment. This combination clings to your olive drab layers, a grim olfactory signature of your existence on the front lines. You stop noticing it actively after a while because it becomes the air you breathe, the fabric of your world, but it's always there, a silent testament to the unglamorous reality of sustained combat. You might find yourself trying to discreetly sniff your sleeve, a small, almost unconscious act confirming what you already know: you stink, and so does everyone else. There's a strange kind of collective acceptance that emerges from this shared state of uncleanness. The subtle shame of personal body odour fades, replaced by a grim solidarity. Nobody is clean, so nobody judges. It's a collective descent into a necessary state of grime, a uniform layer of dirt that ironically binds you closer to your comrades. This isn't the kind of elegant ritualistic grooming you might have read about for samurai, or the elaborate beauty routines of elite women in more peaceful eras. No, this is an unvarnished portrait of primal survival, where personal scent gives way to the overriding aroma of conflict and the elements. You sometimes wonder with a dry internal chuckle what your mother would say if she could get a whiff of you right now. She'd probably try to scrub you clean with a wire brush and half a bar of lye soap, and you wouldn't blame her. In fact, she'd probably need a clothespin for her nose, a large tub full of bleach, and perhaps a few therapy sessions afterward. The constant dampness, particularly in your socks, is more than just an unpleasant sensation. It's a profound danger. You might try to dry them near a fleeting fire or even inside your jacket with your own body heat, but in the pervasive cold and damp true dryness is a rare, almost mythical state. This grim reality, the constant moisture, the ingrained dirt, the inescapable smell, is a stark reminder of how far you've fallen from the basic comforts of civilization. It's an assault on your dignity, a subtle, insidious erosion of the self, but one you learn to endure because there are far more pressing concerns. And among those pressing concerns, perhaps none is as insidious and debilitating as the silent, creeping menace that attacks your feet trench foot. That constant state of grime, especially the dampness clinging to your wool socks from weeks of wear, isn't just an unpleasant sensation. It's the insidious harbinger of a far more debilitating threat. In this brutal winter combat, keeping your feet dry becomes an absolute non-negotiable priority. You learn quickly that trench foot, a silent creeping menace, often incapacitates more men than direct enemy fire. It's a cruel irony you can survive a bullet but fall prey to your own damp socks. Imagine the frustration, the demoralization of being rendered useless, pulled from the fight not by a heroic wound, but by a condition that makes simply standing unbearable. The fear of it becomes a constant low-level hum of anxiety, a visceral understanding that your ability to move to fight, to simply exist, hinges on the health of your feet. Your feet become an obsession. Every moment of rest, every lull in combat, every chance to shed your boots is an opportunity for a ritualistic, life-saving inspection. With stiff, numb fingers, you carefully unlace your boots, pulling off the damp, often frozen leather. The stench that rises is your own, a mix of sweat mud and the metallic tang of fear, but you ignore it. What you're looking for is far more important. You examine your pale, wrinkled skin pressing at it, looking for the telltale signs, the ominous white patches, the subtle discoloration, the blisters that hint at deeper damage. You rub your toes, trying to coax back circulation, your fingers kneading the cold flesh. This isn't just routine, it's a critical act of self-preservation, a silent prayer to your body to hold out against the relentless assault of the cold and damp. Frequent sock changes, though a luxury, are absolutely essential. If you're lucky, you might have a precious dry pair tucked away somewhere, perhaps swapped with a comrade or received in a rare resupply. The feeling of pulling on a clean dry pair of wool socks is a sensation almost akin to euphoria. It's a small, fleeting comfort that resonates through your entire body, a temporary reprieve from the constant clamminess. You almost want to sigh with relief, but you hold it in maintaining your stoic facade. These aren't just socks. They're vital pieces of equipment as important as your rifle. And when true dryness is impossible, even a slightly less damp pair is a victory. You try to dry your wet socks, stuffing them inside your uniform, to be warmed by body heat, or hanging them near a carefully concealed sputtering flame if you dare. It's a constant, never-ending battle against the pervasive moisture a war fought inch by inch across the battlefield of your own feet. Rudimentary care becomes a meticulous art. You apply tape over raw spots, trying to prevent further chafing and infection. You know that even a small cut or blister left untreated can quickly fester into something that could take you out of action for good. You learn to listen to your feet to understand their protests, their subtle warnings. It's a bizarre kind of vanity, caring so much about your feet when the rest of you is caked in mud and your face is grim with exhaustion, but it's a vanity that literally keeps you in the fight. Without healthy feet, you cannot walk, cannot move, cannot escape. You become a connoisseur of foot discomfort, able to discern the subtle difference between just cold and dangerously damp. This constant, painstaking battle for foot health is a testament to the grim realities of winter combat, a stark reminder that sometimes the greatest threats aren't external, but rather slowly, insidiously creeping from within. Yet even with this vital focus on your feet, opportunities for true personal washing are almost non-existent, relegated to the realm of rare and basic necessities. Against the backdrop of constant grime and the critical life-saving battle against trench foot, true personal washing emerges as a rare and almost mythical luxury. Forget the daily ritual of a hot shower or a leisurely bath that defines civilian comfort. Here in the field, when opportunities for even rudimentary cleansing present themselves, they are snatched with a desperate efficiency, and their scope is severely limited. You learn that a wash is almost never a full-body experience. Instead, it's a targeted functional act highlighting the extremely primitive level of hygiene you're forced to maintain. It's often focused solely on the critical areas, primarily your feet, to stave off debilitating conditions, and perhaps your face and hands if you're particularly lucky. Imagine finding a working pump in a partially intact village, its handle stiff with disused water that sputters out icy cold and probably rusty. This isn't just a pump, it's a treasure, a source of liquid that hasn't been chemically tainted by iodine. You might with numb fingers manage to get your wool socks off the stiff, damp fabric, peeling away with a faint squelch. Then under the painfully cold stream you scrub them as best you can, the raw red skin of your hands quickly going numb from the chill. The water runs black with weeks of accumulated dirt and sweat. You knead the wool, trying to work out the grime, knowing that even after this effort they won't be truly clean but merely less dirty. It's a small, hard-won victory in the endless fight against the pervasive filth. This rudimentary washing is often done without proper soap. If you're fortunate enough to acquire a sliver of military-issue rough-hewn bar soap, it does little more than create a faint, thin lather in the icy water, doing more to chap your skin than cleanse it. The experience is more painful than refreshing. Your skin already rough and dry from the cold, and exposure feels raw and tight afterwards. You might try to wipe your face and neck with a damp cloth, a quick, brisk motion to remove the uppermost layer of grime, but the sensation of true cleanliness remains elusive. It's like trying to clean a mud-caked sculpture with a damp tissue. You make a dent, but the essence of the dirt remains. You might briefly feel a fleeting sense of accomplishment, a slight psychological lift from the effort, but the overwhelming reality of pervasive grime quickly reasserts itself. You find yourself almost marvelling at the sheer effort involved in such a basic task. Back home, cleanliness was a given and automatic part of daily life. Here it's a strenuous, often painful endeavour, a testament to the profound deprivation you're enduring. You sometimes catch yourself daydreaming about a hot bath steam rising the luxurious feel of clean water and fragrant soap. The contrast is almost comical if it weren't so tragic. You understand with a bitter clarity that these fleeting, basic washing opportunities highlight just how far removed you are from any semblance of normal life. Your hygiene, or lack thereof, is a constant, tangible reminder of the brutal, unglamorous reality of the front line. You're not clean, but you're clean enough for now to keep fighting. As you complete these bare minimum acts of personal care, your thoughts are abruptly pulled to another equally frustrating reality: how the intense cold impacts not just your body, but your most vital personal items, turning even simple, daily tasks into exasperating struggles against the elements. As you endure these bare minimum acts of personal care, struggling with icy water and the pervasive grime, your attention is soon drawn to another equally frustrating reality: how the intense cold impacts not just your body, but your most vital personal items. It's a subtle yet relentless assault, transforming familiar objects into uncooperative, often useless extensions of the frozen landscape. The cold, you realise, doesn't discriminate. It seeks to complicate every single aspect of your existence, turning even simple daily tasks into exasperating struggles. Take your canteen, for instance. It's your lifeline, your portable reservoir of precious iodine-tainted water. But in the relentless cold, that water frequently transforms into a solid, unyielding block of ice. You reach for a drink parched from exertion, only to find you're carrying a useless chunk of frozen liquid. There's a particular kind of exasperation that comes with realizing your essential hydration has become a non-negotiable solid. You might try to chip at it with your entrenching tool or hold it against your body in a desperate attempt to thaw it, but often to no avail. It's a constant low-level betrayal, your most vital resource rendered temporarily useless by the very conditions you're fighting in. You quickly learn to anticipate this, to find small tricks to prevent it, but the cold often wins, mocking your efforts with its icy grip. Then there's your helmet, that heavy protective shell that should offer a measure of security. But inside, from the condensation of your own breath ice forms, it's a thin, insidious layer coating the inner surface, sometimes flaking off onto your face or hair, a cold, sharp surprise. You feel the constant chill against your scalp, a persistent reminder of the external temperature even under your steel pot. It's a minor irritation, certainly, but one that adds to the pervasive discomfort. Your breath, which you try to conserve and warm, ironically turns against you, creating a new source of cold inside your very headgear. It's an internal paradox, another small way the environment asserts its dominance over every piece of your gear. And perhaps most frustratingly, there are your shoelaces. Simple, mundane strings designed to secure your boots. But in the freezing temperatures, they stiffen into uncooperative cords, rigid and brittle. Trying to tie or untie them with numb, aching fingers becomes a Herculean task. The knots are impossible to loosen, the frozen strands resist every effort, becoming gnarled and unyielding. You pull, you tug, you swear under your breath, your hands growing colder and stiffer with each frustrated attempt. What should take seconds stretches into minutes, a battle against an inanimate object that seems to actively defy your will. It's a mundane example of the sheer effort required for even the most basic acts of daily life, a microcosm of the larger struggle. You find yourself longing for the days of simple slip-on shoes, or perhaps even a pair of those clunky wooden clogs. Anything that doesn't require you to fight an Olympic battle with frozen laces every morning. These small, seemingly insignificant details accumulate, adding weight to the already immense burden you carry. They're not battle wounds, but they chip away at your patience, your comfort and your mental resilience. Every time your canteen is frozen, every time you feel the ice inside your helmet, every time you struggle with stiff laces, you are reminded again and again that this environment is actively working against you, complicating even the most fundamental actions. It's a relentless, subtle form of torture, turning the familiar into the frustrating, the essential into the exasperating. And these aren't even the most painful sensory effects that the extreme cold inflicts upon your body. There are others sharp and visceral that provide a constant reminder of your struggle. As if the frozen canteens and stiff shoelaces weren't enough, the extreme cold inflicts even more painful and visceral sensory effects upon your body, turning the most involuntary mundane acts into moments of pure agony. Imagine this: the very moisture on your eyelashes, essential for lubricating your eyes, freezes solid. You feel it, a tiny crystalline crust forming, stiffening the delicate hairs. Then you try to blink, and the simple reflexive act of closing your eyelids becomes an excruciating grinding sensation. It's like shards of ice scraping against the tender skin of your eyelids and the surface of your eye, a sharp, shocking pain that jolts you every time. You might flinch your eyes, watering uncontrollably from the irritation, and the cold making the problem even worse as more moisture instantly freezes. This isn't just a fleeting discomfort. It's a constant, pervasive torment. Every blink, every involuntary flutter of your eyelids sends a fresh wave of pain. You try to blink less to keep your eyes open wider, but your body eventually demands the moisture. The resulting agony is a visceral, sharp reminder of your body's constant, exhausting struggle against this unforgiving environment. It's a battle fought on the most delicate front, a testament to the cold's insidious ability to find every weakness, every vulnerability. You'd think blinking would be the least of your worries in a war zone, but here it becomes yet another drain on your mental and physical reserves, a subtle, continuous torture that chips away at your ability to focus, to see clearly, to simply be. The effect isn't merely physical pain, it's also a form of visual obstruction. The ice crystals can form a thin, frosty film, blurring your vision, making it harder to discern shapes and movements in the already dim, snowy landscape. You rub your eyes, an instinctive reaction, but this only makes the irritation worse, potentially introducing grit and dirt from your unwashed hands. It's a catch-22, a frustrating cycle of discomfort and impaired function. You're trying to remain vigilant to scan for enemy movement, but your own body is actively conspiring against your senses, blurring the very reality you need to perceive with utmost clarity. It's an absurd, almost darkly comedic aspect of your suffering. You're fighting for your life, and your own eyelashes are putting up a significant resistance. This constant internal assault underscores just how thoroughly the environment has invaded your personal space, how it dictates your every sensation. The cold is no longer just out there, it's in here, literally on your eyeballs. It transforms something as basic and unconscious as blinking into a deliberate, painful act, a tiny battle fought within your own skull. This persistent low-level agony adds to the cumulative fatigue, making your already exhausted body feel even more worn down, even more fragile. You start to resent the very act of seeing, knowing it comes with this sharp, icy cost. You long for a moment of warmth, a brief respite where your eyes can move freely without pain, without the constant, stinging reminder of the sub-zero reality. As you navigate this world of frozen eyelashes and constant bodily assault, you're sharply reminded that every single aspect of your physical being is under duress, constantly engaged in a silent, often painful negotiation with the elements. This brings us quite directly to the broader canvas of your daily responsibilities and the relentless physical demands that define your existence, a kind of labour far removed from any conventional understanding of the word. Having grappled with the minute miseries of frozen eyelashes and stiff laces, you now shift your focus to the broader, more pervasive reality of your daily labour and responsibilities, which in this context translates to relentless physical punishment. Your body, you quickly realize, is no longer just a vessel. It's a tool, a machine, and it's constantly subjected to abuse. Every single day your back is compressed against the frozen ground, whether you're trying to sleep, taking cover, or simply resting for a few precious minutes. That unyielding earth acts as a cold, hard press, squeezing the life out of your spine, leaving you with a persistent ache that radiates through your entire torso. You might try to shift to find a softer spot, but there's never one to be found. The ground is your bed, your shield, and often your torturer. Your joints, too, are in a perpetual state of protest. They're stiff creaking and often swollen from the cold and constant exertion. Knees, ankles, elbows, they all scream with movement, making even the simplest actions like standing up or crouching down a painful ordeal. It is like your body has prematurely aged a lifetime in a few short weeks, the lubrication in your joints replaced by grit and ice. Every muscle in your body, from your calves to your shoulders, seems to be in a constant state of low-level rebellion, screaming with movement, aching even when at rest. You feel a pervasive, deep-seated ache that makes your limbs feel heavy, unresponsive, like lead and broken glass. This isn't just fatigue. It's a fundamental physical degradation, a constant grinding battle your body wages against itself and the environment. Combat, you learn, is an unrelenting physical grind. It's not just the moments of intense adrenaline-fueled action, but the hours and days between filled with walking, carrying, digging, and waiting, all under the most extreme conditions. You are constantly on the move, or constantly prepared to move, your muscles always tensed, always ready. There's no respite for your body. Even when you're technically at rest, the cold forces your muscles to work harder, burning more calories just to maintain warmth. The weight of your gear, your rifle, your pack, your ammunition, it all adds to the constant strain pulling at your shoulders, compressing your spine. You quickly realize that sheer physical endurance is as critical a weapon as your M1 Garand. This physical punishment isn't a temporary state. It's the defining characteristic of your existence. You become intimately familiar with every ache, every throb, every protest your body makes. You learn to push past the pain, to ignore the signals your body sends, because succumbing to them is simply not an option. It's a harsh form of discipline taught not by drill sergeants, but by the raw, brutal demands of survival. You often wonder how much more your body can take, how many more miles it can walk, how many more nights it can endure on frozen ground before it simply gives out. You might look at your hands rough and calloused, your nails broken, and barely recognize them as your own. This isn't the body you started with. It's a hardened, weary shell moulded by the relentless demands of the front. And this constant physical exertion is further exacerbated by the exhausting terrain and the heavy loads you must carry. Picking up from the pervasive physical punishment, you find that the very act of moving, of advancing through this unforgiving landscape, exacerbates every ache and pain. The terrain itself becomes an active obstacle, a constant drain on your already depleted strength. Imagine attempting to move through knee-deep snow not for a leisurely stroll but as a tactical imperative. Each step is an exertion requiring you to lift your leg high, battling the suction and resistance of the packed powder, and then plunge your boot down again only to repeat the arduous cycle. It's like running in quicksand, only colder, and with the added threat of hidden dangers beneath the pristine white surface. This exhausting, strength-sapping ordeal makes every yard gained feel like a monumental achievement, a testament to sheer willpower over physical limitations. You quickly learn that snow, while offering a cruel beauty, is also one of the most effective natural defences, slowing your advance to a crawl and leaving you exposed for longer. Compounding this challenging terrain is the relentless weight of your full combat load. You're a walking arsenal, a self-contained unit of destruction and survival. Your M1 Garand rifle, heavy and solid, is slung across your shoulder or clutched in your freezing hands. Pouches of ammunition, grenades, a canteen often frozen solid, a first aid kit, and your entrenching tool, each item a necessity, but collectively they become an immense burden. This combined weight saps your strength hour by hour, pressing down on your shoulders, chafing your skin and making your legs feel like lead. You feel the constant pull, the persistent drag as you navigate the snowy drifts. It's an unrelenting physical demand that grinds you down slowly but surely, pushing your body to its absolute limits. Every calorie you consume is immediately expended in this battle against gravity, against the snow, and against your own growing fatigue. You think about how you might complain about carrying a heavy backpack on a hike back home, and now that memory feels absurdly luxurious, almost quaint. Yet amidst this relentless physical grind, a different, more meticulous kind of labour emerges, a ritual that is just as vital for your survival weapon maintenance. Your M1 Garand rifle isn't just a tool, it's your life, your voice in this brutal conversation, and keeping it functional is a critical act of self-preservation. Each day, sometimes multiple times a day, you perform the ritual of meticulously cleaning it. You field strip it carefully, disassembling the various components, your numb fingers, moving with unpracticed precision born of repetition and necessity. The metallic click and clack of the parts, the faint smell of oil and gunpowder, these become familiar, almost comforting sounds and scents. You wipe down each part with an oily rag, ensuring no moisture, no grit, no tiny piece of debris can interfere with its delicate mechanism. This isn't merely a duty, a box to check on a list of responsibilities. It's a profound, almost spiritual act. You know with a chilling certainty that a jammed rifle in these freezing conditions means certain death. Your life, and potentially the lives of your comrades, depend on the flawless operation of this weapon. There's no time for excuses, no margin for error. So you focus your mind momentarily, shutting out the cold, and the fear, concentrating solely on the intricate dance of cleaning and reassembling your M1. It provides a strange sense of control in a world utterly devoid of it, a small pocket of order you can impose amidst the chaos. The meticulous oiling of each part, the satisfying click as it all fits back together, the smooth action of the bolt, these are small victories, micro moments of peace of mind. It's a testament to your own resilience, your personal discipline, and a quiet daily performance of your unwavering commitment to survival. These daily labours, from the sheer physical struggle of movement to the meticulous life or death care of your weapon, define the very fabric of your existence. They are the unsung, unglamorous aspects of war, the mundane realities that precede any heroic act, and they prepare you body and soul for the relentless mental and emotional tolls that lie ahead. As the final echoes of your journey through the relentless European winter of 1945 begin to fade, allow yourself to gently drift back away from the bone-deep cold, the gnawing hunger, and the pervasive grime. Release the heavy burden of the rifle, the constant vigilance, the aching muscles. Let the sounds of distant artillery and the persistent ringing in your ears soften into a gentle hum, then a whisper, and finally a profound silence. Imagine the warmth seeping back into your numb fingers and toes, the comforting release of tension from your shoulders, the ease of drawing a deep, full breath without the bite of freezing air. Contrast the hard, frozen earth of the foxhole with the softness beneath you, now the single icy blanket with the comforting layers that surround you. The harsh glow of a shielded lantern gives way to the gentle darkness of your room, or perhaps the soft ambient light that signals peace. Remember the mechanical act of eating bland K-rations and the bitter taste of iodine water, and then slowly allow the memory of a warm meal, a favourite drink, to bring a sense of quiet contentment. The constant fear of trench foot of frostbite of a jammed rifle. Let these anxieties dissolve into the secure knowledge of your present comfort and safety. The harsh discipline of constant vigilance, the unspoken code of comradeship born of shared suffering, the small desperate acts of self-preservation, these powerful threads of the past can now loosen their grip. You have walked in their frozen boots, endured their daily struggles, and now it is time to shed that experience like a heavy snow-laden coat. Allow your mind to gently disengage from the stark realities of that world. The stories of endurance, of resilience, of humanity battling against overwhelming odds have been told. Now, as the historical whispers fade, feel the profound quiet settle over you. Let your breath deepen, your body relax, and your mind grow still. The echoes of a different time and a different struggle are giving way to the profound peace of your own present moment. You are safe, you are warm, and you are free to rest. So close your eyes, let the last vestiges of the past melt away, and allow yourself to gently, deeply fall into a peaceful, restorative sleep. Sweet dreams.